Mr. Chief Justice of the United States, Senator Green, Dr. Evans, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. We've met here this morning to put some pieces of parchment away in specially sealed cases in order to preserve them from physical and chemical change. And I can't help but be impressed with this magnificent collection of all the ancient, medieval, and modern documents that are in this library. I think always of the terrible destruction of the Alexandrian library in the Middle Ages. In this library, the British Museum and the Louvre are our modern replicas of that great Alexandrian library. The documents which we are putting away today are written in a style of handwriting which is no longer familiar to us. If they were only historical relics, it might seem strange that we should make a ceremony out of this occasion of sealing them up. But the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States are more than historical relics. They are a living force in our life today. We may have some difficulty in preserving the parchment on which these two documents have been written, but the ideas they set forth will never perish. These documents express the highest principles of political life, that all men have certain unalienable rights, that governments are set up to provide for the welfare of the people, and that the rule of law stands above government and citizens alike. These ideas have a life to large. Of the past. Today, that the aims of government are human betterment and human freedom. Was an old one even before these two documents were written. Our forefathers created a new nation, but they based it upon the long experience of the English people in maintaining human freedom. The right to trial by... These first 10 amendments will be put on parchment and sealed up and placed alongside the original document. In my opinion, they're the most important parts of the Constitution. These rights have become so well established, secure. In our own lifetime, we have learned anew the human misery that an absolute power-mad government can create. We've seen it in the brief history of the fascist and Nazi tyrannies. We are witnessing it today in the tyranny of Soviet communism. A constitution is not just a matter of words. There are other constitutions which may read as well as ours. Just take, for example, the Constitution of the Soviet Union. That Constitution has a lot of fine language in it, a lot of beautiful and meaningful words. That Constitution of the Soviet Union says that Soviet citizens are guaranteed freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and freedom of assembly. I wonder what would happen to a citizen of the Soviet Union if he tried to exercise any of those freedoms. It professes to guarantee that citizens of the Soviet Union shall be secure in their persons and their homes. And in addition, it purports to guarantee equality, the right to work, the right to an education, the right to rest and leisure, freedom of religion, and a lot of other fine things. But these good words in the Soviet Constitution mean less than nothing. They are empty promises because the citizens of the Soviet Union have no way of enforcing their rights against the state. In the Soviet Union, the power of the state is above all rights. The government does not have to obey the law. As a result, the citizens of the Soviet Union enjoy none of the freedoms which are guaranteed in their constitution. They do not have freedom of speech or freedom of the press. They may be arrested without cause. Their homes may be invaded without a search warrant. They may be executed or exiled without a fair trial and without appeal. Their constitutional guarantees are just as false as their treaty agreements. A Bolshevik agreement is not worth the paper it is written on. It is only a scrap of paper. The Soviet citizen lives in fear. His society is a jungle through which the naked power of the government prowls like a beast of prey, making all men afraid. The communists claim that they have to use the weapons of tyranny in order to improve the conditions of the people. That just isn't true. That is a rejection of the long experience of mankind. By resorting to the worst evils of ancient tyranny, the Soviet rulers have held their citizens in terror and bondage while freedom is growing in the rest of the world. The evils which the communists brought back or the power of any other can uproot and liquidate whole classes of people and entire nations. The death cramps of Hitler Germany or the modern Siberia demonstrate that the unrestrained power of the government can be a greater evil in our modern civilization than it ever was in ancient times. The only guarantee against such a society of fear and cruelty is the principle that the government is not above the law. Our Declaration of Independence, our Constitution proclaim that the government is subject to the fundamental law. The Constitution sets up a system to a brighter future. On this occasion, we ought to pray to Almighty God that the American people will remain faithful to the spirit of the Declaration of the Independence and the Constitution. We should ask that they be ever mindful of the great wisdom and truth that are embodied in these two documents, and through them in our form of government. The wisdom of our form of government is that no man, no matter how good they may appear to be, may be entrusted with absolute power. The great achievement of our government is that it has enabled us to meet the changing needs of the people while providing a rule of law that restrains all men, even the most powerful. The glory of our form of government lies in the fact that it has held us faithful to the concept seated. The struggle against the use of naked force as an instrument of government